Welcome back, fans, to part 6 of 9 of the 2020 MMA Prospect Series featuring the heavyweight division. Now, the heavyweight division is always a favorite of mine. It's always fun to do. Like the previous videos, we will go through each fighter fairly fast, so we're not here too long. Some fun facts about today's video. The fighter records combined is 70 wins against 1 loss. We have 15 fighters from 8 different countries. The rules, if you're new to this series: no UFC experience, no tough experience, no contender experience, no PFL experience, no Bellator. You'll very rarely see anybody from ONE FC or Ryzen. Also, you won't see any big names from a promotion, say like KSW, meaning no champions. Any fighter that was previously talked about on my channel is also dismissed from this video and will not be mentioned again. And typically we don't talk about fighters above the age of 30 in this prospect series. However, being this is the heavyweight division and doesn't have as much depth as the other divisions in MMA, we have included, I believe, a couple of guys over the age of 30. This, and another disclaimer is, these 15 fighters, there's no order, no ranking to them, and they're 15 fighters that I'd like to talk about. There may be other prospects out there that are just as good as better, but these are the 15 guys I picked. And before we get started, please hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Feel free to hit the like button and subscribe. And also, for each fighter I mentioned in like on previous videos, there will be links to each fighter, highlights and footage below in the video description. So if you want to see these guys in action, check out the links I put in the description. Without further ado, let's get rolling. The first guy we're going to talk about is Anatoly Malykhin. 32 years old. Again, one of the rare times you'll see a guy above the age of 30. 6 feet, 235. He's listed at 265 on various sites like ShareDog and I think Tapology, but from research I can find him around that 230 to 240 mark. Fighting out of Russia, a member of Golden Team, a very large fight team. 8 wins, no losses, 4 TKOs, 3 submissions. He may have all finishes, but the one fight against Murad Kamatov, I can't find any history on it. He also has some amateur career victories. I think I had him tracked at 3-0 as an amateur. Key wins: 7-2 Lucas Alsina, 24-12 Bellator and kickboxing veteran Alexei Kudin, which is a great win. PFL WSOC Verizon and two-time tough member Jay Cohen, that's a nice victory. And 49 fight veteran Baga Adjiav. He's beaten him. So he also has a win over ACA former champ Shamlin Razulov. So he's got some very nice victories for a guy relatively new in the sport. I've included 5 or 6 of his fights in the description below. Great way to start this video off. Anatoly is a beast. Wrestling all day. Big slams. Very strong guy. Check out the fight against Jay Cohen. And others for some great slams. Same with Alsina. He's got a quick shot. He transitions very good on the floor. He finishes fight in a variety of different ways, be it ground and pound or submission. He's got a nasty key lock. He pretty much manhandles bigger opponents. Very technical wrestling. He likes to close that gap. He closes it very quick. He's got a vast combat sports background. 2013 freestyle wrestling champ. And I believe he may have been suspended for PED use back in the day. So again, I'm the kind of guy that gives the guy a second chance. 2016 Euro grappling champion. 2017 WMMA world champ and a Russian amateur champ. Very accomplished combat athlete. At age 32, for sure his time is now. Even though he's only been a pro a few years, I'd like to see him get a shot. Hopefully he can bridge the gap and get the call with another win or two. Again, a lot of these amazing fighters from places like Russia we don't get to see in the UFC or Bellator because of visa issues. So let's hope this guy can work it out. And again, at 8-0, with his background, the way he fights, a win or two, I wouldn't be surprised. Next on the list, Kirill Kornilov, 28 years old. Some sites have him at 25. I did some background checks and I have him at 28. 6'5", 250 to 255. 4 wins, no losses. 4 knockouts. Fighting out of Russia. Sec Pro is a good sized team. Key wins, even though he's only had the 4 fights, again, he's got an extensive kickboxing background, but he hasn't fought cans. He's beat Fernando Rodriguez Jr., who's a former KSW champ, and 10-5 Edison Lopez. Check out the video section below. I've included his 3 of his fights, I believe. Very big, experienced kickboxer, now making the transfer to MMA, transition to MMA. In the division star for new talent and prospects, Kornilov is a welcome addition. He kickboxed in Glory, also the Russian promotion Tantev Cup, and more. And obviously his striking will be above a large amount of his opponents, in the heavyweight division, based on his kickboxing background. Kornilov is very patient on the feet. Got a great kicking game, of course. He throws decent punches. He's got good short elbows, and he's pretty decent from the clinch. He finishes fights, KOing all of his opponents to date. And fighting MMA at a high pace with 4 fights in 8 months. The big question, of course, will be his wrestling, his takedown offense, jiu-jitsu, grappling, all those things that MMA brings. But nonetheless, a good addition to the prospect realm in the heavyweight division. Next on the list, this guy is also a beast. Tafon Nchukwi, fighting out of Cameroon. Team Lloyd Irvin with the likes of James Vick and Sodiq Yusup. 25 years old, 6 feet, 225. Maybe better suited for light heavyweight. Has fought there before. Only 3 wins and no losses with 3 knockouts. Also a successful amateur record too. So the reason that he made the list is his destruction over 7-1 Dana White Contender Series and UFC development contract signee William Knight. I'm not sure why William Knight, they set him up against this guy. If I was William Knight with that development contract, I'd be looking to fight a lesser opponent. This guy's a beast. And he just walked through William Knight. Heavyweight in action, and you'll see a fight on Twitter. I put those in the section below. Again, this guy is a beast. First off, I don't know why they put him up against William Knight. If I was William Knight's trainer, I would take a second look. But that's what's good about this sport. A lot of the great fighters fight other great fighters, but typically they wait till they get to the bigger promotions to do so. And again, first off, his record since transitioning to MMA, 3-0 as a professional with 3 knockouts, and 3-0 as an amateur with 3 knockouts. Kickboxing and Muay Thai background, extensive experience. WKA USA Nationals, represented USA, winning the championship, the World Championship in 2016 in both kickboxing and MMA, in Muay Thai. Also a jiu-jitsu background. He competed in the IBJJ championships. Big power, one-punch knockout capabilities, strong, hard kicks from the limited footage I see. I don't know how high-leveling his grappling, wrestling, or takedown defense is, but he's got that background. And in the heavyweight landscape, he's definitely a prospect. But again, probably better suited in the long run for light heavyweight. But nonetheless, with his victory over William Knight, for sure, this guy's on the radar now. With a couple of wins, he will get the call. Next on the list, and surprisingly, this next guy also is a beast that nobody seems to be talking about. I haven't seen him on any websites, any list, anywhere. Islam Abasov, 26 years old, 6'1". He's listed at around 220, 225, but man, this guy looks a lot bigger as far as from a weight standpoint. Fighting out of Russia, 6 wins, no losses, all 6 victories in the first round, most in under a minute. He knocked out UFC veteran Edinaldo Oliveira, who's 20-6, and most of his other competition was very low level. I included 3 or 4 videos of him. If you want to see some cool knockouts, definitely check them out. Big KO power. He throws heavy punches, like almost similar to like a Shane Carwin type punch. Very heavy. And no one talking about this guy. He's young. He's massive for a 6'1" build. 3 fights that ended, in less than a minute against, and especially his win over Oliveira. I mean, beating a guy that's fought in the UFC usually gets you a bit of notoriety, but still nobody's talking about him. Huge, heavy ground and pound. He's got a pretty nasty over and right and a short, hard left. As seen with his KOs, you'll see in the video. I'm not saying he's technically sound, but he throws that heavy punch. I 100% want to see more of this guy, and hopefully we'll see him get signed by somewhat of a decent promotion so you see him in action. Right now, fighting in those small shows, it's hard to get footage, but definitely a guy that I'm surprised nobody's talking about, and hopefully we see more of him soon, Islam Abasov. Next on the list, Hugo Cunha, 27 years old, 6'4", 250, Tata Fight Team, pretty big team in Brazil, 5 wins, no losses, 3 knockouts, 2 submissions. Key wins, 5-2 Henrique Silva and 5-3 Marino Eatman. I attached a couple of videos below, shows a bit of Cunha's wrestling background. Brazilian national team wrestling member, BJJ black belt, at 5-0 with 5 finishes. And even though a lot of those have been lower level competition, when you got that record and this background, you automatically start getting, mentioned in the heavyweight division as far as prospects go. Striking is very raw at this point in his career, but he's young enough, and with his other his bread and butter being his wrestling and his jiu-jitsu skills, I mean, he has the ability to improve. An interesting prospect nonetheless, and hopefully we see him get a few more fights, and I'm sure, Brazilians are on the map, especially a guy at heavyweight, so with a few more wins, I could see this guy getting a shot in a contender series or something along those lines. Next on the list, another guy we know very little about, but a beast in his own right, Aleksandr Maslov, 26 years old, 6'2", are very ripped, large, 240, 3 wins, no losses, 3 knockouts, 2-0 as an amateur. Fighting in Russia, again, at Sec Pro team, huge team. Key wins, 18-11 Yuri Prostetko, 13-6 destruction of UFC veteran Cody East, and 9-7 Wallace and Carvalho. So he's beat fighters with much more experience than him. A couple of great knockouts you'll see in the videos below. Big, strong, athletic, newcomer to the sport, big power, fights southpaw. He has the ability to switch to orthodox as well. Good takedown defense. And you see a big difference in him between his first fight and now. Very comfortable on the feet. And again, a ripped 240 with heavy hands. Even though he's only 3-0 in the heavyweight division, with his physique, his agility, and the way he's been winning fights, with a few more fights for sure, this guy gets a call. Next on the list, another guy I'm pretty excited to talk about, Paul Elliott, 27 years old, 6'1", a very ripped 240, at Kiri MMA, fighting out of England, 4 wins, no losses, a couple of amateur wins too, all his pro wins by knockout. His best win probably came against 20-15 Dave Wilson. The rest of his opponents, fairly low level, fairly weak competition. The thing that a lot of folks don't understand is when you're fighting in different parts of the world, sometimes you're in a hot spot for MMA, you can get fights all the time, or sometimes you're in a spot where there's not a lot of fights promotions. So it's hard to get fights. So you really can't judge a prospect just based on his competition. Well, I urge you to check out the highlight section. You'll see some just terrific knockouts, very quick and one-sided destructions. Head kicks, great hands, that kind of stuff. So check out the videos. This guy's kickboxing and striking is legit. Utter destruction against his opponents to date. Nasty head kicks. Very, very powerful striker. Nasty ground and pound. Again, a ripped 240. Very athletic. Surprisingly unknown at this point, especially being from England. Kickboxing background. Competed in WCA, World Kickboxing Association. Obviously the big question is going to be his wrestling and his grappling capabilities, his takedown defense, that kind of stuff. I can't really comment because I haven't seen it, but for sure, with the way this guy throws hands and kicks and how athletic he is, with that kickboxing background, you have to take a look at this guy. And surely being from England and having this talent, surely this guy gets the call from somebody soon. Hopefully he can get a few more fights before he goes to the Bellator or UFC. But he'd be a great addition to both of those organizations. So hopefully we'll see Paul on the big screen in a not so distant future. Next on the list, Vyacheslav Ryabov, 24 years old. Some sites have him at 23. 6'8", monster, 255, 5 wins, no losses, 5 TKOs. Also has some pro boxing experience at 2-0 as a professional boxer. Key wins, most of his competition, lower level, lower experience. I've attached 3 or 4 of his fight videos and also some of his boxing videos in the section below. Big, 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 strong, unknown heavyweight. Good takedown offense. Very raw technically. From a stand-up point of view. He's got big knees from the clinch, power punches. He's kind of got that raw brute strength. Again, boxing now. He looks pretty well rounded when he looks pretty good in his boxing videos. So I'm not sure which background he's chasing more. If he's sticking MMA full time or if he switched to pro boxing. But hopefully we see him in the MMA realm. Again, not a lot else to say about this guy, but he's young. He's a monster from a size standpoint. He's undefeated, so I had to include him in the list. Next on the list, another pretty cool athlete we're going to talk about, Pasha Kharkhachaev, 6'3", 325 to 350. I'll explain that in a moment. This guy's an amateur, 8 wins, no losses, 6 knockouts, KHK team, another member from that great team out of Bahrain, 25 years old. Again, the more I get into this IMMAF, the more great fighters we're seeing come out of the amateur ranks, particularly the Bahrain team. Just a tremendous amount of prospects in that group, which you've seen in some past videos this year. Check out the video section below. In the amateur scene, you don't usually see a lot of big KOs, but this guy has put some guys into another planet. He's got a massive left hand. Again, big power, rare to see the knockouts. Big left hook. 6 knockouts. His first 6 amateur fights I can track were knockouts, and then he had a couple of wins over some tough opponents by decision. His last couple, 2018 IMMAF World Championship gold medalist. European and Asian Open champ in 2019. 2019, he defended that World Championship, winning the gold again at the IMMAF World Championships. He's got a combat sambo background. And it sounds like he's going to go for a 3rd World Championship next year. And he's starting to grow a fan base and also on social media. Very calm demeanor, but once he gets going, he's very explosive. I'm not sure if he'll ever turn pro, and I'm not sure if this guy can make 265. But he's just a specimen, and it sure would be fun to see. So don't judge the book by the outside cover. Again, going somewhere between 325 and 350, but he's not an overly tall guy. It'd be tough for him to make 265, but definitely doable. But just a beast, and if you want to see some devastating knockouts from an amateur standpoint, check out the videos below. Next on the list, Yusup Shuaev, 25 years old, 6'4.5", 250. A lot of big guys in this video. 5 wins, no losses, 1 draw. 4 TKO victories, fighting in Russia. Opponent standpoint, most of his guys he fought has been lower level competition. I did include a couple of videos below. Check them out. As mentioned, another big Russian prospect. Only 5-0, but the heavyweight division is scarce from these kind of guys, so I want to include him. He finishes fights. He grinds out his opponents. He uses his size and strength to his advantage. Decent punching and pretty good wrestling. So I don't know his full background in wrestling, but you can tell he has wrestled, in the past. And again, hasn't fought a lot of great competition, but surely this guy could be picked up by a bigger promotion with a couple of wins. Bellator, 1FC, UFC, etc. Always good to see new heavyweight prospects. Next on the list, Martin Buday, 28 years old, 6'5", 265, cuts down to heavyweight. 7 wins, 1 loss. Also some amateur wins, 5 knockouts, 1 submission, fighting out of Slovakia. Another huge heavyweight. The only loss of his career came to tough winner Juan Espino a few years back. Check out the video section below. Another big, strong heavyweight that's got a cut down to 265. Another monster at 6'5". Interesting heavyweight. He's got a BJJ purple belt, 2-time IBJJF European no-gi champion, which is quite an accomplishment. ISFA European grappling champion. Fairly athletic. He's improving his striking game. Pretty good ground and pound. Obviously, the ground game was his bread and butter. Good knees from the clinch. He pressures opponents and finishes fights. For sure, I could see this guy getting picked up. How dynamic he'll be is, remains to be seen. But he's a monster at that weight. And shortly with a win or two, I could see Martin getting the call. Next on the list, a very popular Russian from the wrestling standpoint, the wrestling world, Adlan Ibragimov, 6-0, 240, 31 years old. So this is the second guy above 30, but I want to include him. Just 4 wins, no losses, 1 knockout, 1 submission. Key wins, 6-2 Murat Gagov and 10-4 Amig Ashkelov. Included 4 or 5 videos in the links below. A couple of his wrestling matches in front of some big crowds. So this guy's experience in the combat world. Another strong Russian heavyweight. That wrestling background is what did it for me. He's used to fighting in front of crowds. He's beat some good opponents early in his career, and obviously wrestling is his bread and butter. But he's shown he's got, you know, pretty good power in his hands, a good ground and pound. I'd like to see him get a few more fights and before he gets the call somewhere. But he's in the ACA now, so I'm sure he's going to have some tough opponents ahead, as that's a very gritty organization in Russia. I'm not sure if we'll ever see him in the UFC or Bellator, but surely this guy with a few wins could compete in those organizations to some degree, and hopefully we'll see him again in the near future. Next on the list, a quick shout out to Akbar Tairov, 24 years old, 6'5", 230, another monster. 2 wins, no losses, 2 TKOs from Russia. Pride Graviskov is his fight team he fights out of. Only 2-0, and both of his opponents were fairly, weak background, but his kickboxing background is what put him on the video. Being at the heavyweight division, again, a lot of these guys don't have much for experience. I got a couple of his MMA fights in the video section below, and also some kickboxing matches. Again, the kickboxing gets him in the list. Kickboxing Sports Master World Cup champ in 2019. Uses his long frame very well. Very good low kicks. Throws good knees, flying knees from the clinch. The punching area could probably use some improvement, but there's definitely time to do that. Again, I don't know how this guy's grappling is, his wrestling, his takedown offense. That's the big part that's going to be the question mark. But definitely want to see more of this guy, but at this point, very raw. Next on the list, this is where it gets fun. Oumar Kane, 28 years old, 6'5", or 6'4", 265 pounds, 1 win, no loss, 1 knockouts, fighting against Senegal. His key win the only fight he had was over 6-4, a nice win over Sven Blochenchop. Okay, so check out the video section. I put his MMA fight there, but also this guy is a Senegal legend in terms of the Senegal wrestling world. 5 or 6 videos of his wrestling background. This guy is an absolute physical monster. Senegal wrestler beast. He is an undefeated champion in Senegal wrestling, a form of grappling that also involves hands, strikes, and takedowns. He's very well known and famous in his country. Senegal wrestling is the national sport of Senegal and also parts of the Gambia. It's a West African, related to the West African larger form of traditional wrestling. They put on huge fights in big arenas in front of huge crowds, and they fight in the sand, so it's kind of cool. You could put another video in the link, but UFC veteran Cain Velasquez made a trip over to learn more about the Senegal wrestling world. It's a cool video. Again, this guy is a monster. Massive slams, massive strength, crazy good wrestling. I don't know how it's going to transition into MMA, but he's just a pure specimen. Not sure he's going to be doing the jiu-jitsu / submission portion of the game, but he's so strong. You'll see that in his MMA fight, just picking up a guy that's 6'4", 240 and tossing him around like nothing. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, some may view it as a freak show kind of fight, but this guy's a beast, and I'll definitely tune in to watch anytime he's fighting. The next person he's going to fight is the next guy we're going to talk about. He's fighting a 5-0 Ivan Romanov. Not sure why these two young prospects want to fight each other so early, but I'm still excited to see it. And that brings us to the last guy, Ivan Romanov, 24 years old, 6'2", 235, 5 wins, no losses, 2 submissions, fighting in a Russia. Team Pat B, Center MMA. Key wins, most of his opponents lower level. Early in his career, finds ways to win fights. Pretty decent submissions. Master of Sports in SBU MMA and Pancration is his handle. Decent size heavyweight. Again, very raw. Decent grappling skills and a couple of slick submission wins. Not a ton of footage on this guy. His striking and his wrestling are still things that's a big question mark because I haven't seen a lot of it. But he'll have his hands full with Oumar Kane. It's an interesting fight I'd like to see with two young, great prospects. Surprised again these two are matched up so early, but both of them young beasts, and it should be fun to watch. So that's it, folks. Again, this wasn't as big as the other videos, but it was fun for me putting it together. I always enjoy putting the heavyweight division prospect series together. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and also check these fighters out on their social media accounts. Really appreciate if you guys hit the like button and subscribe. The next video will probably be a few weeks before I get it done. It's the middleweight division. It's going to be a huge video with a ton of great fighters, so it's going to take me some time to put that piece together. But again, I want to thank everybody for watching. It's been a blast so far making this series. And hey, still 3 left to go. We still got the middleweights, we still got the flyweights, and we still got the women's. So looking forward to making those 3, and love to hear from you guys. Hit me up again, social media, or comment on the video, and we'll see you again in a few weeks, guys. Thanks.